Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. In today's episode, we'll talk about Australians losing more than 2 million to cryptocurrency scams. We'll talk about the Operation Crypto Sweep by the US and Canada, and we'll talk about some updates about Brave browser and how you can stay up to date when it comes to user numbers. So let's jump right into this first news stories, and it's actually connected to the second news story, but let's look at this first. So Australians lost over 2 million US dollars to crypto scams last year. Australian consumers lost more than 2.1 million to cryptocurrency scams in 2017, the country's Competition and Consumer Commission says. Now, as you know, 2017 was a huge year for cryptocurrencies. However, there was a lot of ICO scams, some phishing, all of these negative things that are kind of connected to, unfortunately connected to the cryptocurrency space, also appeared when hype was there. Every time you have a kind of a hype cycle where you realize that people want to make a quick buck, this is exactly what happens. Scammers come up, people who just try to steal money from you come up as well, and they are trying to get money from you by any means necessary. Now, the commission in Australia, the Competition and Consumer Commission, actually created kind of a report that they have released today, a so-called annual scams report, and we'll link to that in the show notes as well. And basically says while Bitcoin's price rise came from a couple of hundreds or thousands up to 20,000, a lot of people have actually lost a lot of money. People even lost more when it gotten up to 20,000, which kind of makes sense because in the hype cycle, when you're at the top, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, is quite high. So people kind of are scared of missing out the opportunity of their lifetime, and this is exactly what happens then. So it says here, the report indicated that fake ICOs, crypto-related pyramid schemes, and ransomware payments were common means of swindling consumers. Now, fake ICOs is basically an ICO that promises the world but doesn't deliver at all. Crypto-related pyramid schemes could be something like BitConnect, and ransomware. I remember last year, I think we had a big a virus spreading as well, and then the virus asked for certain Bitcoin payments in order to go away. So this is what is meant with ransomware. The commission said it expects crypto-related fraud to continue, noting as with other scams, this is likely the very tip of the iceberg. And be very careful of the wording here. I will mention to you why. Australians in general lost more than 340 million US dollars in scams overall, with 64 million being lost to investment scams specifically last year. So if you look at the entire spectrum here, cryptocurrency only plays a very small role. However, obviously, because it's cryptocurrency, it will get mentioned in the media and people will talk about it in a negative way. Now, if we come to this next news story, and that's why I mentioned the wording. So we have mentioned that the SEC is currently looking into ICOs and different kind of investment schemes, if you will, to kind of find out which ones are securities, which ones are frauds, and how to kind of identify them. So it says here, more regulatory news out of the US as provincial and state watchdogs up and down the country and in Canada are getting tough on crypto investment schemes. The announcement was made at a North American Securities Administrators Association NASA event, and Joseph Bork from the NASA president actually said, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of investor. We're seeing that what's being promoted to investors, and then we're taking the next step. We're finding out whether they're complying with securities laws. When the SEC started looking into this, this is actually what we mentioned. We mentioned that now kind of certain cases are through. They are now looking into cryptocurrency kind of backwards. So they are starting to research these different cryptocurrencies and ICOs now. There have been a couple of ICOs, or actually crypto projects that were kind of declared as fraud and negative and kind of have been taken from the market. The founders were even have even been put into jail. So this is kind of the issue here. Here 70 investigations are already underway, with around a third completed and several resulting in cease and desist orders. An example of this is BTC Crush, which was found to be using stock footage. And investigators are concerned that ICOs are still tricking thousands of unsuspecting investors out of their money. Now, the SEC last week has actually released a website where they are kind of trolling, if you will, certain ICOs, and they did a really good job. They created this website where they promise you retirement, an island, a lot of money, Lambos, and all of these things. They even wrote a white paper where they promised you the world. And obviously it's fake, but the SEC is kind of trying to tell people, look, guys, this is a problem. Like, this is going to be even more of an issue. If we can trick you with this kind of little amount of work and this type of website, it's very likely that you will get tricked. So it's super important that you do your research. Now, what is interesting here, actually, Joseph Rotonda, the director of enforcement at the Texas State Securities Board, said, "Although the International Task Force's work is far from complete, my suspicions have already been confirmed. The market for cryptocurrency investments is saturated with fraud, and our work is only revealing the tip of the iceberg." So you can see similar wording here. Could be coincidence, could be that, again, different companies or different institutions are pulling some strings, trying to shine some negative light on cryptocurrencies. Very possible. But again, in the end, it's kind of every investor's own job to do his own research and kind of understand what he or she is investing in. Obviously, that's why we here at Blue Alpine Research are doing the research for you, so that you can kind of relax, read the research, and then make up your mind regarding different cryptocurrency projects. Now, it says here, while not every ICO is a fake or a scam, there are several that are, and several more that have been irresponsibly or insufficiently structured and set up. Now, the regulators' tasks across the US and Canada are to compile a list of thousands of ICOs, investigate them, and shut down the dangerous ones, which is a very good thing. Let's be honest here, guys. I mean, this is clearly what the SEC and all these organizations have to do. Now, the problem is just that these projects get thrown into the same bucket as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of these legit projects, and that's kind of what worries me, or what kind of gives me a hard time, is just that these things are not the same. Like a fake ICO project, you and I, we can kind of find that out pretty quickly, because we know how to research these things. But your average investor that only reads in the newspaper about Bitcoin going to 20K cannot do this. So that's actually the SEC's jobs, or at least what these organizations are trying to do. So this is not always something negative. Now, next up and last story of the day, we have a crypto-powered Brave browser hits 5 million downloads in Google Play Store. The ad-blocking browser, which was co-founded by Mozilla Firefox creator Brendan Eich, reached this significant milestone last Thursday, just 6 months after crossing the 1 million download threshold. Now, the Brave browser, I actually want to use this, but the problem is I cannot use this plugin that I'm still using with Chrome, but maybe I'll start giving it another try, because it's really nice to kind of mark these things. For the podcast listeners, I'm sometimes marking the text passages that I'm reading to you guys, making it visible for you guys. So that's actually quite helpful. Unfortunately, the Brave browser doesn't have that yet, so I'm still waiting on that. But I'm actually a fan. So it says here, since the Brave browser blocks ads by default, users can reward publishers for producing quality content with the platform's basic attention token, BAT. YouTube creators and Twitch streamers can also register to become publishers, which I'll probably do, enabling them to earn a much larger percentage on revenue than through conventional ad-based models. Whether this will work remains to be seen. Says here, however, the company claims that the browser has 2.3 million monthly active users across all versions, as well as 14,000 verified publishers who have signed up to receive a BAT payment. So that's pretty cool. In order to kind of research these type of projects, because I'm always mentioning, In order for cryptocurrency to succeed, what we need is kind of a killer application, an application we use every day, an application that has some kind of, be it network or platform effect. And Brave browser doesn't really have like a network effect as is, but it has the potential to become a daily application that we're using. Now, in order to kind of see where the Brave browser is and to kind of follow this, what I'm looking at now currently for the podcast listeners is the Android store, so the Play Store. And I have entered, I basically Googled for Google Play Brave browser, and then the first link comes up. So as you can see here, you can see some details, and this is actually the same view that you would get when you're trying to download the Brave browser on your mobile phone. First of all, there are still these kind of reviews. So you're seeing 4.5 stars with 28,000 reviews, which is pretty crazy. 4.4 stars actually. And then you can read the reviews, you can read the notes and all of these things. And here there's a very interesting point, and for the podcast listeners, I will mention this. In the part of additional information, you see the part where it says installs, and here you see 5 million plus. Now, iOS doesn't do this. But on Android or Google Play, these information is actually kind of public. So that means that you can follow this number. And if you see that this number is increasing, that actually means that the Brave browser is being used more and more. And in return, the BAT token or the basic attention token is kind of used more as well. What does that mean for you as an investor? If you are interested in the BAT token, if you believe that this advertising model is kind of old school and the new model is the basic attention token, then you have to track these KPIs. These numbers are very essential, because the higher these numbers are, the more it means for you as an investor. More people are using this BAT token, and in return, BAT as a kind of currency or value will increase because people will shop with BAT down the road. So this is kind of a investment thesis you can build on, and with this kind of public information, you can build your investment thesis and kind of follow it and observe it a little bit. And if this, for example, goes to 10 million within 1 month, or 100 million within X months, then you kind of see, oh, there is something to this, like people are actually using this. Now on iOS, what you can do is kind of track the chart ranking as well. We have already shown you how this works with Coinbase, but we will show you this at a different episode as well when you dive a bit deeper into Brave. But this is actually a very easy to follow KPI if you believe in the BAT model. And with that, guys, we're already at the end of today's episode. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast. I'll see you in the Telegram channel, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.